a smartphone, a fighter jet, an electric vehicle, a power grid. Different technologies, same hidden dependency. They all rely on materials most people never think about, and on an industrial process that most of the world has outsourced to one country, at one specific stage of production. This is the Anglosphere report. Here is the distinction almost no one gets right. China does not control most of the world's critical mineral reserves. The West is not short on rocks. Australia alone is one of the world's great mineral powers, with enormous reserves and production across commodities, ranging from iron ore and uranium to manganese, gold, and zinc. According to Australia's own government, it can supply 36 of the 50 mineral commodities the United States classifies as critical. What China actually controls is a specific, narrower stage of the process, one most viewers have never thought about, because it doesn't happen where the mining does. Mining, refining, manufacturing. A mine is not a supply chain. Follow the actual sequence. A mine produces ore, rock pulled from the ground. That ore becomes concentrate, rock crushed and separated to raise the mineral content. Concentrate goes through chemical processing to become refined material, the pure form a factory can actually use. That refined material becomes a component, a magnet, a battery cell, a circuit part. And the component becomes the finished technology, the phone, the jet, the electric vehicle. China's advantage is concentrated specifically in the middle of that chain, refining and manufacturing, not in the mining stage at the start. For magnet rare earths specifically, neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium, the elements inside permanent magnets used in electric vehicle motors and missile guidance systems, China mines around 60% of global output, according to the International Energy Agency. It refines roughly 91%. And for the finished component, the sintered permanent magnet itself, China's share reaches 94%, up from around 50% just 2 decades ago, in 2005. The concentration doesn't stay flat as you move downstream. In the most strategically important parts of the chain, it grows. That is not simply a mining story, it's a mining, refining, and manufacturing story. And the West's gap widens the further downstream you look. For graphite, China refines 96% of global supply. For battery-grade manganese, 95%. And this isn't shrinking. The IEA's own data shows the top 3 refining nations' combined market share rose from 82 to 86% between 2020 and 2024. This is not simply a story about cheap labor. China's advantage was built through decades of industrial scale, specialized processing expertise, integrated supply chains, and sustained government investment. The kind of accumulated capability that doesn't transfer with a single contract or a single election cycle. The United States currently has almost no large-scale magnet manufacturing of its own. One American company, MP Materials, is working toward roughly 1,000 tons of annual capacity, less than 1% of China's output. Washington has responded with unusual speed. In October 2025, the United States and Australia signed a formal bilateral framework, committing both countries to invest at least $1 billion each within 6 months toward an $8.5 billion pipeline of priority mining and processing projects. The U.S. has separately backed Project Vault, a strategic critical minerals reserve supported by up to $10 billion in U.S. Export-Import Bank financing, alongside nearly $2 billion in private investment. In February 2026, Washington launched Forge, a standing coordination platform linking the U.S. with Canada, the U.K., Australia, Japan, South Korea, and notably, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Ukraine. Over a 6-month period, the U.S. government says it mobilized more than $30 billion in financing, loans, and letters of interest. This documentary states that figure precisely as described. It blends completed deals with non-binding commitments. Not all of it is money already spent. Even Western policymakers' own actions signal how serious they consider this. Part of the framework includes price floors, a guarantee to producers that prices won't collapse below a set level. That doesn't prove the market has failed. It shows that policymakers believe ordinary market incentives alone may not deliver the capacity they need in time. Can the gap actually close? One industry forecast puts the scale in stark terms. Global demand for these magnets is projected to grow faster than supply can keep pace, producing a shortfall by 2040 roughly equal to today's entire global production. That is one industry projection, not an established fact, and this documentary flags it as such. 3 plausible futures, not predictions. Scenario 1, Western diversification succeeds. The Australia-US framework, Forge, and comparable projects scale fast enough to meaningfully shift refining and manufacturing capacity by the early 2030s. Scenario 2, partial diversification. Some minerals, lithium, nickel, see real Western capacity emerge, following the pattern Indonesia has already set for nickel. Others, especially rare earth magnets, remain concentrated in China because that specific manufacturing expertise is harder to replicate quickly than raw mining capacity. Scenario 3, China retains decisive advantage despite the investment, because 2 decades of accumulated industrial capability simply takes longer to match than a single funding announcement allows. The evidence available today doesn't clearly support one scenario over the others. Beat. Every phone, every fighter jet, every electric vehicle, every power grid this documentary opened with depends on an industrial process, not simply a geological accident. The question was never who has the minerals. It's who can turn them into something the modern world can actually use, mine, refine, manufacture. I'm the Anglosphere Report, connecting the stories shaping the Anglosphere and the world.